baby girl followed the whimpering sounds and found a German shepherd trapped under a shed. You think you've seen kindness? Think again. What happened between a child and a wounded animal in the middle of nowhere has turned into one of the most heartwarming stories of the year. It's raw, it's real, and it will restore your faith in humanity. Don't forget to like, share, and tell us where you're watching from. The sun was dipping low behind the rolling hills, casting a golden hue over the quiet little neighborhood nestled at the edge of a sleepy rural town. Birds chirped their last songs of the day, and the gentle rustling of leaves whispered through the air, painting a peaceful picture that seemed to hold its breath. This was a place where neighbors knew each other's names, where children played barefoot in the yards, and where the rhythm of life moved slowly and kindly. Among the modest homes, one small house stood quietly, its white picket fence worn but lovingly cared for. In the warm glow of the fading sunlight, a little girl sat on the porch steps, her small fingers clutching a worn stuffed bunny. Her big, curious eyes scanned the yard and beyond, reflecting a world full of wonder and innocence. This was Emma, just 4 years old, a bundle of pure heart and gentle spirit, the kind of child who could light up the darkest of rooms with her laughter. Emma was no stranger to quiet afternoons spent exploring the edges of her family's property, finding magic in the simplest of things. A ladybug crawling on a leaf, the feel of soft grass beneath her tiny feet, or the distant calls of farm animals preparing for nightfall. Her imagination was boundless, and her innocence made her fearless in the way only children can be. But on this particular evening, as the shadows lengthened and a cool breeze began to weave through the trees, Emma's peaceful world was interrupted by a sound. A faint, high-pitched whimpering, soft, almost pleading, drifted to her ears from beyond the shed at the back of the garden. Her head tilted, the stuffed bunny forgotten in her lap as she listened intently. The sound tugged at something deep inside her, a spark of curiosity mixed with concern. It was a sound she had never heard before, and yet it seemed impossibly familiar, like a secret calling her name. For a moment, she hesitated, the comfortable safety of her porch replaced by an inexplicable urgency. The whimper came again, slightly louder this time, a small cry for help wrapped in the night stillness. Emma's little heart beat faster, and without thinking twice, she stood up. She knew she had to follow it. With slow, careful steps, she left the porch, the old wooden boards creaking softly beneath her feet. Her tiny boots pressed into the damp earth as she moved toward the back of the house, where the garden gave way to a narrow path shadowed by tall oak trees. The whimper was clearer now, fragile but persistent. Each step forward felt like crossing an invisible line between innocence and the unknown. The warm comfort of home faded behind her, replaced by the soft whispers of wind and the occasional rustle of a nocturnal creature stirring in the underbrush. Alone, with only the fading daylight and her courage as companions, Emma pressed on. The tension built with every movement. Was this just an animal caught in some harmless predicament? Or was there something more dangerous lurking in the dark corners of the night? The questions twisted in Emma's mind, but she pushed fear aside. She had to find the source of that whimpering to see if she could help. As she rounded the corner near the old shed, her breath caught in her throat. The whimpering stopped, replaced by a tense silence that hung heavy in the cool air. Emma's eyes searched the shadows, and then she saw it. A faint movement beneath the rickety wooden floorboards, barely visible in the twilight. Her small hands reached out, brushing away dirt and debris, revealing the wet, trembling nose of a German shepherd. The dog's large, sorrowful eyes locked with Emma's, filled with a mix of pain and hope. The shed's underside was a prison, the dog trapped beneath, caught in a narrow space with no way out. Its coat was matted with mud and grime, and its ribs showed too clearly beneath the fur, telling the silent story of days spent stuck and alone. Emma's heart broke at the sight. She knelt beside the trapped animal, her gentle voice barely more than a whisper. "It's okay, I'm here now," she said softly, brushing the dog's damp fur with tender fingers. The German Shepherd responded with a weak wag of its tail, as if understanding that rescue was finally near. In that moment, the innocent girl and the suffering dog became connected by a fragile thread of trust and compassion. But beneath the warmth of this discovery, a shadow loomed, the question of who had left this gentle creature to suffer and what dangers might still be lurking nearby. Emma knew, somehow, that this was not just a simple rescue. This moment would change everything. The afternoon sun was beginning to dip low, casting long shadows over the quiet backyard where the baby girl had been playing just moments ago. The air was still, but an unsettling sound disturbed the peacefulness. A faint, persistent whimpering that seemed to come from beneath the old wooden shed standing at the corner. The shed, weathered and worn, looked harmless enough from afar, but the soft cries told a different story. As the baby girl's small feet padded closer, her wide eyes scanned the area, searching for the source of the distress. The whimpering grew louder and more urgent, pulling at something deep inside her gentle heart. Despite her tender age, she felt a strange mix of curiosity and compassion guiding her steps forward. There was no hesitation, only a quiet determination to find who or what was in trouble. Peering underneath the shed's cracked wooden planks, she caught sight of a large German Shepherd curled up in a tight ball, barely able to move. The dog's once glossy coat was now dull and matted with dirt, and its eyes, wide with fear, reflected the fading light like twin pools of sorrow. It trembled softly, its breaths shallow and ragged. Cuts and bruises marked its legs and ribs, signs of struggle and neglect. The sight was heartbreaking, a majestic creature brought low by circumstance and pain. The baby girl's face twisted in confusion and concern. She had never seen an animal in such a state before. A protective instinct swelled inside her as she slowly reached out a trembling hand toward the frightened dog. The German Shepherd flinched but did not snap or growl. Instead, it whimpered again, a fragile plea for help that touched the girl's soul. Gently, she whispered soft words, hoping her innocent voice could offer comfort. "It's okay, puppy. I'm here," she murmured, though the dog's distrust was palpable. The challenge was clear: how to reach the animal and free it from its confinement without causing further panic or harm. The shed was old, its foundation uneven and cluttered with rusted tools and fallen debris. The space beneath was cramped, making it impossible for the girl to crawl under. She tried pushing at the loose boards, but they barely budged. The dog's desperate eyes seemed to plead with her, as if time was running out. Fear crept into her thoughts. What if the dog was too weak to survive much longer? What if nobody came to help in time? But alongside fear was courage, pure and unwavering. She knew she had to do something, no matter how small her size or strength. Her heart pounded as she scanned the yard, searching for anything that could help her free the trapped German Shepherd. Nearby, an old garden rake lay forgotten against the fence. With all her might, she dragged it over and carefully used its handle to pry at the wooden planks, inch by inch. The dog's whimpers grew more urgent, sensing rescue was near but still uncertain of the outcome. Minutes stretched on like hours, the tension thick in the air. Sweat beaded on her forehead, yet she refused to give up. Then, with a sudden creak and a splash of dirt, one of the boards loosened enough to create a small gap. The dog's head cautiously emerged, panting weakly, eyes flickering with hope. Encouraged, the baby girl smiled softly, feeling a surge of joy that warmed her despite the gravity of the situation. She knew the hard part was only beginning. The dog was injured and too weak to walk on its own, trapped in a place designed to hold it captive. She hurried to find her mother, calling out with all the strength her tiny voice could muster. Within moments, help arrived, and together, They lifted the German shepherd out from under the shed. The dog's relief was palpable, tail wagging weakly, eyes brightening for the first time in days. The baby girl watched with tears in her eyes, realizing that this moment, born from pure compassion and bravery, had made a difference. The dog was safe now, but the journey toward healing had only just begun. The baby girl, still trembling from the sight of the trapped German shepherd, knew she couldn't do this alone. The urgency in the dog's whimpers pushed her to act. Clutching the hem of her small dress, she sprinted toward the house, her bare feet barely feeling the cool grass beneath them. The afternoon was fading quickly, shadows stretching longer by the minute, and she knew every second counted. Bursting through the back door, she found her mother in the kitchen, busy preparing dinner. "Mom, the dog, under the shed. It's hurt," she cried out, her voice raw with emotion. Her mother turned immediately, concern flashing in her eyes. She dropped the spoon she held and hurried outside with her daughter in tow. The sight that met them was heart-wrenching. The German shepherd was still trapped, its body curled tight, eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. The mother knelt beside the dog, speaking softly to calm it, while the baby girl stood close by, gripping her mother's hand tightly. Neither of them knew exactly how to get the dog out, but they were determined to try. As the mother searched for tools to pry the boards loose, the baby girl ran to find her father, who was working in the garage nearby. She tugged at his sleeve, her eyes shining with a mix of hope and desperation. "Daddy, please help the dog. It's trapped under the shed," she pleaded. Her father dropped his wrench and followed her immediately. Neighbors had started to notice the commotion. Mrs. Jenkins from next door came out, bringing her own box of gardening tools, while Mr. Harris, the local handyman, was already making his way over after hearing the distressed calls. Within minutes, a small group had gathered, their faces full of worry but ready to help. The rescue operation began with cautious, deliberate movements. The dog's whimpers grew more urgent, but it remained wary of the sudden activity. The father carefully examined the shed's foundation, noting the warped and rotting wood that made the task both easier and more precarious. He handed a crowbar to Mr. Harris, who began to wedge it under the tightest plank. The baby girl sat nearby, watching every movement with wide eyes. She reached out to the dog, her small hand gently brushing its fur, trying to soothe the frightened animal. The dog's breathing slowed slightly at her touch, its trust building bit by bit. There was a silent promise passing between them, a promise of hope and rescue. Prying the wood proved harder than expected. The shed had settled unevenly over the years, trapping the dog in a narrow, cramped space that left little room for maneuvering. Each attempt to loosen the boards was met with creaking sounds that threatened to collapse parts of the structure. The rescuers moved carefully, knowing that one wrong move could cause injury to the dog or themselves. Time seemed to slow as the sun slipped further behind the trees. A sudden summer storm rolled in, dark clouds gathering ominously overhead. A gust of wind scattered leaves and dirt, and the first drops of rain began to fall. The added pressure of the weather heightened everyone's anxiety. The dog shivered not only from its injuries but from the chill that crept into the air. Amid the tension, small moments of hope flickered. The mother managed to pry loose a plank on one side, creating a gap wide enough to reach in. The baby girl gasped, watching the dog's head cautiously push forward into the fresh air. The animal's eyes met hers, a connection forming that transcended words. It was as if the dog understood that this little girl was its lifeline. The neighbors and family members worked together, forming a human chain of encouragement and practical aid. Someone fetched blankets to cover the dog once freed, while others called local animal rescue to be ready for medical care. The baby girl remained close, whispering soothing words and stroking the dog's ears gently. Suddenly, the dog's paw twitched. A surge of adrenaline swept through the group. It was a sign. It wanted to be free, It wanted to survive. With renewed determination, the father pried at the last stubborn plank. The wood splintered under pressure, and the dog's body shifted, pushing against the confines. But then, a near-miss, part of the shed's floor gave way unexpectedly, causing a shower of debris to fall dangerously close to the dog. The baby girl screamed, and everyone froze. The dog whimpered but stayed still, trembling from the shock. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed the rescue might fail. Yet the human spirit, especially fueled by a child's unwavering compassion, refused to yield. Slowly, carefully, the rescuers adjusted their approach, working together with greater caution and precision. The storm's rain intensified, dripping steadily from the roof, but no one moved away. Finally, with one last concerted effort, the dog was free. It stumbled out from under the shed, its legs weak but its spirit unbroken. The baby girl's face lit up with joy as she knelt down to embrace the exhausted animal. The dog nuzzled her gently, a silent thank you whispered through soft breaths and wagging tail. That night, the bond between the baby girl and the German shepherd grew stronger than ever. From fear and helplessness to hope and rescue, their journey was just beginning. A story of courage, love, and the unbreakable connection between a child and an animal in need. The moment the German shepherd was finally free from under the shed, it collapsed onto the damp grass, its body trembling violently. The rescuers gathered around, relief washing over their faces, but the dog's condition was clearly fragile. Its fur was matted with dirt and grime, patches of raw skin showing beneath where the rough boards had scraped against it. The animal's eyes, though filled with gratitude, revealed exhaustion and pain, signs of dehydration, hunger, and likely injuries from being trapped for so long. The baby girl, her small hands still gently stroking the dog's head, watched with wide, worried eyes. She could feel the rapid beating of its heart beneath her fingertips and knew it was fighting to hold on. "Don't be scared," she whispered softly, her voice barely louder than a breath. "We're here now. You're safe." Her family wasted no time. They carefully lifted the dog onto a makeshift bed of blankets and carried it inside the house. The baby girl insisted on staying close, refusing to leave the dog's side even for a moment. Her mother fetched a shallow bowl of water and placed it near the dog's muzzle, but it was too weak to drink. So, the baby girl gently moistened her fingers and let the dog lick them, each small lick a promise of trust and healing. As night deepened, the family called a local veterinarian, who arrived promptly with a sense of urgency. The vet's expression turned grave as she examined the dog, her experienced hands noting signs of malnutrition, dehydration, and possible internal injuries. She carefully checked for broken bones or cuts, then administered fluids and medications to help stabilize the dog. Throughout the examination, the baby girl sat quietly beside the vet, her eyes fixed on the dog's face. She reached out now and then to offer a comforting touch, whispering encouraging words the dog seemed to understand. The vet smiled softly at the girl's devotion. "You've done something very special," she said gently. "Animals can sense kindness, and your care will help her heal faster." Over the next few days, the household transformed into a sanctuary of healing. The dog, who they named Hope, began to regain her strength slowly but surely. With each passing hour, she grew more alert, her eyes brighter and her breathing steadier. The baby girl remained Hope's steadfast companion, sitting beside her through every meal, every rest, every moment of discomfort. She talked to Hope as if they shared a secret language, soft stories about the sunshine, the birds outside the window, and promises of a better tomorrow. The bond between them deepened in ways that surprised everyone. It was more than just caregiver and patient. It was a connection forged in shared struggle and unspoken understanding. The baby girl, who had always been gentle and affectionate, now radiated a quiet strength and purpose that seemed to grow from the love she poured into caring for Hope. Sometimes, when the baby girl gently brushed Hope's fur, the dog's gaze would shift toward the window, ears twitching at distant sounds. In those moments, the girl's heart clenched with questions. How had Hope ended up trapped under that shed? Was there someone responsible? A silent shadow hovered over their healing days, an unanswered mystery lingering beneath the surface. On quiet afternoons, the baby girl would sit by Hope's side, softly tracing the scars and marks that told the story of her ordeal. She imagined the dog's struggle for freedom, the fear in the dark, cramped space, the hope that had kept her alive. These moments brought tears but also a profound sense of connection, a shared resilience born of pain and survival. The family's veterinarian made regular visits, providing treatments and monitoring Hope's recovery. Each time, the baby girl eagerly showed off the small improvements, how Hope wagged her tail, how she tried to stand a little longer, how she followed footsteps around the room with growing curiosity. The healing process was slow but steady, a testament to the dog's indomitable spirit and the unwavering care she received. Night after night, the baby girl would fall asleep beside Hope, their breathing synchronized in a comforting rhythm. In those quiet hours, the pain of the past seemed to fade, replaced by hope and the promise of a future where fear no longer ruled. As weeks turned into months, Hope's transformation became evident. Her coat regained its shine, her eyes sparkled with life, and the once trembling dog now greeted every visitor with cautious enthusiasm. The baby girl, too, blossomed, her laughter ringing through the house as she played and explored, no longer weighed down by worry but filled with the joy of companionship. Their story was one of healing, not just physical but emotional. The rescue had saved a life, but it had also saved a heart. The dog and the baby girl had found in each other a source of strength, a shared sanctuary where pain was met with love and fear with courage. And yet, beneath this newfound peace, the lingering question remained. What had trapped Hope beneath that shed? The answer wasn't yet clear, but the baby girl and her family were determined to uncover the truth. They knew their journey wasn't over, it was only beginning. Together, they faced the future with hope in their hearts and a bond unbroken by hardship. And in that quiet determination, they found the greatest healing of all. The days following Hope's rescue were filled with gentle care and healing, but in the back of the baby girl's mind and the hearts of her family, there lingered a pressing question. How had Hope come to be trapped under that shed in the first place? The innocent discovery had stirred a deeper mystery, one that needed answers. Determined to understand, the family began quietly asking around the neighborhood. The baby girl, though young, was already attuned to the seriousness of the situation. She would sit beside her mother and grandfather, listening carefully as they spoke with neighbors and friends, trying to piece together fragments of the dog's past. One neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, recalled hearing strange noises late at night from the property where the shed stood. "It sounded like crying," she said softly, eyes distant with memory. "But I thought it was just a cat or something. I never imagined it was a dog trapped in such a horrible way." Her voice cracked slightly, the realization heavy. Another neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, shared a more troubling story. "I saw the dog a few weeks before she was found. She looked scared, thin, and she was tied up outside that property. Nobody seemed to be taking care of her." He shook his head. "I wanted to say something, but I thought maybe the owners had a reason. Now I know better." As the testimonies gathered, a picture began to form, one of neglect, perhaps even abuse. The shed where Hope was trapped belonged to a vacant house on the edge of the community, long abandoned and overgrown. It was a place forgotten by many, but the dog's presence there was no accident. The baby girl's mother sat her down one afternoon, gently explaining that sometimes people don't treat animals kindly. She told her daughter that Hope had been very brave, surviving all alone and trusting enough to let her be rescued. The child listened, her small hands clutching Hope's now soft fur, tears shimmering in her eyes. "We will make sure she's safe forever," she whispered. This revelation stirred a deep emotional current in the family. The baby girl, so young and pure, felt a mix of sadness and determination. She had found Hope at her most vulnerable, and now she was the dog's protector. "We have to help her," she said simply, her voice filled with quiet resolve. Word spread through the neighborhood, and soon the community began to rally around Hope and the baby girl. Local animal lovers offered food, blankets, and stories of other rescues. Volunteers came forward, eager to help with Hope's care and recovery. What had started as a small act of kindness blossomed into a movement of compassion. The family decided to hold a small gathering in their backyard, inviting neighbors and friends to learn about Hope's story. It was more than a tale of rescue. It became a symbol of resilience and hope. The baby girl stood shyly before the crowd, her voice soft but clear as she spoke about finding hope and the promise she made to care for her. The room was filled with emotion. Some wiped away tears, others nodded in solemn agreement. As the baby girl spoke, Hope lay quietly at her feet, sensing the attention and love surrounding her. The dog's eyes met the child's, and in that silent exchange was a bond stronger than words. It was a testament to the healing power of love and the courage found in even the smallest hearts. The family worked with local animal welfare groups to investigate the history of the vacant property and its previous occupants. They discovered reports of complaints about the house, stray animals heard crying, sightings of neglect, but nothing had been done. It was a harsh reminder of the gaps in care that sometimes left innocent creatures vulnerable. This knowledge deepened the baby girl's compassion. She began to understand that Hope's story was not unique, that many animals suffer in silence. With the support of her family and community, she dreamed of helping others like Hope to give them voices and safe homes. Slowly but surely, Hope's past became a powerful catalyst for change. The family worked to raise awareness about animal welfare in their town, organizing drives for donations and educational talks about kindness and responsibility. The baby girl, once just a curious child following a whimpering sound, became a symbol of empathy, a reminder that even the smallest among us can make a difference. Through this journey, the dog's story transcended pain and fear, transforming into a narrative of survival, love, and hope. Hope herself, once lost and trapped, now thrived surrounded by care and affection. Her resilience inspired not only the baby girl and her family but the entire community. The experience changed them all, reminding everyone that behind every act of cruelty is a chance for compassion to rise, and that sometimes the greatest heroes come in the smallest packages. The journey of healing began slowly but steadily, as Hope, the once trapped German Shepherd, started to regain her strength under the loving care of the family. The first days after her rescue were fragile. Every movement was tentative, every glance cautious. But as the baby girl stayed by her side, whispering soft words and offering gentle touches, Hope began to trust again. Her eyes, once clouded by fear and exhaustion, started to sparkle with a new light, one filled with hope and the promise of a fresh start. Each morning, the sun would peek through the curtains as the baby girl woke with a quiet determination. She had taken it upon herself to be Hope's guardian, her protector, and her friend. No longer just a child who followed a mysterious sound, she had blossomed into a brave young soul who understood the weight of compassion and courage. With every step she took, her confidence grew, quietly yet unmistakably. The family's routine shifted around this newfound bond. Mornings were spent feeding Hope nourishing meals, carefully selected to help her rebuild her strength. Afternoons were for gentle walks along the nearby trails, where the baby girl would hold Hope's leash tightly, guiding her through fields of wildflowers and under the shade of towering trees. Playtime became a joyful ritual, fetching sticks, tossing soft balls, and laughing as Hope's tail wagged wildly in pure delight. Training sessions, too, became part of their days. Not the strict, harsh commands one might expect, but patient lessons built on trust and praise. The baby girl learned to read Hope's signals, the subtle shifts in her posture, the way her ears twitched at certain sounds. Together, they built a language of kindness and understanding, bridging the gap that fear had once created. This transformation was more than physical, it was deeply emotional. Hope's recovery mirrored the baby girl's own growth. Where once there had been hesitation and silence, now there was a voice full of empathy and bravery. The child's heart expanded, embracing not only the dog's needs but the wider world of kindness and responsibility. She began to see herself not just as a rescuer but as a beacon of hope for those who could not speak for themselves. Their story became a symbol in the community, a living testament to second chances. Neighbors who had watched from afar marveled at the change in both girl and dog. The quiet child who had once followed a whimpering sound was now a leader in small acts of compassion, inspiring others to open their hearts and homes to animals in need. Hope, once trapped and scared, had become a shining example of resilience and the healing power of love. The family often gathered in the evenings around the warm glow of the fireplace. There, the baby girl would share stories of their adventures with Hope, the hikes, the playful tumbles in the grass, and the quiet moments of comfort during thunderstorms. Each tale was a reminder of how far they had come and how much brighter their futures had become. Reflecting on the journey, the baby girl's mother would sometimes say, "Rescue isn't just about saving a life. It's about giving love a chance to grow." Those words resonated deeply with everyone who had witnessed the bond between child and dog. It was a powerful reminder that kindness, no matter how small, could transform pain into joy and despair into hope. The baby girl herself, now more confident and brave, would often look into Hope's eyes and see a reflection of her own strength. Their shared past of hardship created a connection that needed no words, a silent understanding that they had both been given a new beginning. As weeks turned into months, the house was filled with laughter and light once more. Hope's playful barks echoed through the rooms, chasing away the shadows of the past. The baby girl, no longer just a child who followed sounds, had become a storyteller of courage and love, carrying with her the lessons learned from their extraordinary journey. Together, they faced the future with open hearts, ready for whatever challenges might come, but fortified by the unbreakable bond they had forged. In their story, there was healing, transformation, and above all, hope, a hope that no darkness could extinguish. And so, the once-trapped German Shepherd and the little girl who followed the whimpering sound began their new life, not just as survivor and rescuer, but as family. Their journey was a testament to the power of kindness and innocence, a reminder that every life deserves a second chance, and that sometimes the smallest acts can lead to the greatest transformations. From the very first moment the baby girl heard those faint, desperate whimpering sounds, to the final chapters of healing and hope, their journey was nothing short of extraordinary. What began as a quiet afternoon in a peaceful neighborhood unfolded into a tale of courage, compassion, and transformation that touched the hearts of everyone involved. The discovery of Hope, the trapped German Shepherd under the old shed, set in motion a series of events that not only saved a precious life but also sparked a profound change in a little girl's world. This brave child, once silent and uncertain, found her voice and her strength in the face of adversity. She became the light guiding a frightened dog back to safety and, in doing so, rediscovered her own resilience. The impact of this journey rippled far beyond that quiet neighborhood. It changed a family forever. It brought them closer together through shared determination and kindness. Watching the baby girl nurture Hope back to health awakened a deeper understanding of responsibility and love, not just toward animals, but toward every living being who may need a helping hand. Their story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of community. When neighbors, family members, and strangers come together, miracles happen. It is a call to action for all of us to look around and listen closely to the silent cries, the hidden struggles, and the lives quietly waiting for rescue. Animal welfare is not just the work of shelters or rescue organizations. It is the responsibility of every heart that beats with empathy. Each small effort, whether it's adopting a stray, reporting abuse, or simply spreading awareness, contributes to a larger wave of change that can save countless lives. The baby girl's journey shows us that even the smallest voices can make a profound difference. For those inspired to act, there are many ways to get involved. Local animal shelters, rescue groups, and community outreach programs always need support, be it time, donations, or fostering animals in need. Organizations such as the Humane Society, local SPCA chapters, and veterinary outreach initiatives offer resources and avenues for anyone eager to help. Volunteering to care for injured or abandoned animals or advocating for stronger animal protection laws are just a few of the impactful steps we can take. But beyond the practical, this story invites us to open our hearts wider, to recognize the profound bond between humans and animals, and the healing that comes from kindness. It reminds us that every life matters and that compassion is a force capable of overcoming fear, suffering, and despair. As the baby girl and Hope now share their days filled with laughter, play, and gentle companionship, their journey offers a message of hope to everyone watching. No matter how dire the circumstances, love and courage can light the way to a new beginning. If this story has moved you, inspired you, or opened your eyes to the power of empathy, please consider sharing it with your friends and family. Every share spreads awareness, every like encourages more stories like this, and every subscription helps keep these important conversations alive. Together, we can build a world where no animal suffers in silence, and where every child learns the power of kindness. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Stay compassionate, stay hopeful, and remember, sometimes the smallest actions can change the biggest lives.